Shantanu Gupta, author, joining us on this broadcast. Dr. Vikram Sampath, author and historian, also with us. As we look at these pictures that are coming in from Somnath, when we see that moment when Prime Minister Narendra Modi is not just leading the Shaurya Yatra, Dr. Vikram, but also when he takes the damru in his hand and when he, becomes a devotee in that very moment, what is the message that goes out today?
Good morning. I think it's a momentous occasion in the history of not just this nation but this civilization. And I think as he moves the damru, it is an eternal call that Sanatan Dharma remains eternal, irrespective of whatever happens. Somnath, we are not today commemorating the destruction of Somnath, but what we are seeing and witnessing and celebrating is the resilience despite these attacks, despite these repeated invasions that happened from that horrible week of January in 1026 CE, when the marauder Mahmud Ghazni broke the temple and its idol. And since then, and you were talking about Veer Hamirji Gohil, even when Mahmud Ghazni came to invade Somnath in that year, you had almost 50,000 common Hindus belonging to every caste and community, including farmers and others, not only just the royal warriors, but all of them standing there to defend their temple. And that took actually Mahmud Ghazni by total surprise and shock. He had expected it to be a very easy pathway to the destruction, but it took him apparently 3 days to kill all of them and then get into the sanctum sanctorum to defile the murti. So right from then onwards, the resistance that was continuously offered in these 1,000 years is, I think, what we are witnessing today, honoring today and celebrating today.
And Shantanu Gupta, as we see these pictures, as we talk about how today is a story of Sanatan's resilience and Sanatan's resolve. But there are many within the ecosystem who are very uncomfortable with the celebration of Bharat's civilizational journey. What message goes out to them today?
I think, first of all, Har Har Mahadev to you, to my good friend Vikram and all the viewers who are watching. I think Vikram will agree with this. I think we are in very fortunate times that we are witnessing this with our naked eyes. In fact, I remember in 2024, 22nd January, when I was in Ayodhya, and we saw the Ram Lala statue, the Vigrah, and the same time, in a typical Yogi Adityanath style, a helicopter flew and was showering petals, rose petals at the Ram Bhakt. And the Saryu next to me became red, and it gave me a juxtaposition that in 1990 also Saryu became red, but with the blood of Ram Bhakts. In 2024, it became red with the shower split put on Ram Bhakts, right? This is the juxtaposition. I think you're right. A lot of people are very uncomfortable in saying how can a prime minister of a secular democracy go to a religious festival. I think all such people derive their idea of secularism from the Harvards and Oxfords of the world, and I'll want them to notice the oath of any US president. In the part of the official ceremony, they go to a particular church. There's a 30-minute religious procedure. They take an oath on a Bible, and after the oath, they go to another church, and there is a 30-minute religious procedure there. From there to UK, from Oxfords and Cambridges of the world, in their upper house, the Rajya Sabha equivalent in House of Lords, they have 22 positions reserved for the Church of England. And these people are teaching us that, okay, don't stand with the faith. If my Prime Minister stands with the faith, he becomes a communal for some reason. I think now, I think I'm so happy. I remember before 2024, every tourism brochure of India started with Taj Mahal, ended with Taj Mahal. Every Prime Minister gifted a Taj Mahal to the counterpart, but now Prime Minister Modi gifts a Gita to its counterpart. In fact, So I think we are amazing times. I thought it will be a TV debate or a book by someone like Vikram, and that's it. But never thought from Kashi corridor to Kedarnath to Mahakal corridor to Somnath to Ayodhya temple, we will see with our naked eyes. So I think this is literally Renaissance times in modern world.
Yes, and Dr. Vikram Sampath, it is a matter of historical record that Pandit Nehru did not want the state to be associated with the reconstruction or the consecration of the Somnath Temple. Why do you think post-independence, the story of Somnath and Somnath's history was, resigned to margins of any kind of narrative. Why didn't we tell the story the way it is being told today?
I think the reason for that is evident in your question itself, that very truly there is documented proof to show that, Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, tooth and nail opposed, the reconstruction of Somnath Mandir. Much before independence, it was Sardar Patel who had made a public commitment to the fact that this temple, which was so revered from the ancient times as Prabhasa Kshetra, where, Daksha Prajapati's curse on the moon, Soma or Chandra, the moon god, was actually ameliorated. And so that's why it was a place of great piety for all Sanatanis. Now, Sardar Patel understood the pulse of the people, and so this commitment was made on behalf of the Congress that after independence we would actually deliver this temple. And there was no dispute there as well, like probably it was in other places, whether it was the Ram Janmabhoomi or at Gyanvapi. It was a dilapidated masjid where there was no, namaz or anything being offered. So it was only appropriate that this is reconstructed. In fact, Gandhiji himself was also in favor of this, though he felt that this should be reconstructed with public funds and not through state exchequer. But then you have these letters of Nehru to several functionaries of the government, to all the chief ministers who served under him, and also to the President of India, the then President, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was invited by Kanhaiyalal Munshi, the man who is truly the person, the force behind the resurrection of Somnath Mandir, because by then Sardar Patel had unfortunately passed away. And when Munshi goes to Dr. Rajendra Prasad and requests him to inaugurate or lead the entire Pran Pratishtha of this new temple, there are letters of Nehru forcing or coercing Dr. Prasad not to participate in this. And the reasons given are very, very specious. He says, this is somehow a blot on the secular image of my government, and it will create a lot of problem both nationally as well as internationally. And I'm very uncomfortable with this whole Hindu resurgence and what it could do to my image as the head of a government of a so-called secular nation. As my good friend Shantanu mentioned, secularism does not mean being irreligious. And in fact, K.M. Munshi himself writes in his book and memoirs that what use of independence there is if I have to give up my Bhagavad Gita. So the independence should have actually given the nation, the people and society and all theists a very confident wearing of your identity on your sleeve without feeling apologetic about it. But I think since the time Nehru took these views, since the time his idea of what Indian so-called secularism needs to be, which is not even a Western copy. Even in the West, as Shantanu mentioned, religion is not separated that way. You can be religious and still the law need not distinguish between people. In fact, even to the Jam Sahab of Navanagar, which is now Jamnagar, Nehru writes to him saying, I'm not comfortable about this. And you will see that this same, template follows all through his prime ministership. Even in 1959, when he's inaugurated at a speech at, I think, the Lalit Kala Academy, Nehru talks very openly about how when he goes to the huge, temples of southern India, which have been untouched by invasion, though of course there are places like Sri Rangam and others which have also faced iconoclastic attacks but still maintained resilience. So Nehru says, I feel very, very claustrophobic, and it is very ominous, these dark corridors of the temples of South India. And actually the Taj Mahal, which is what Shantanu mentioned, is given to all, was given to everyone hitherto. Nehru says in that speech that the Taj Mahal is what it should be like. It is open architecture. I feel so free and my spirit is actually rejuvenated. So when you have such a very, very blatantly Hindu-phobic kind of a ideology right at the top of the government, everything else follows thereafter. The historical narrative. Nehru wrote The Discovery of India, which became a template for all historians to follow thereafter. And anyone who went out of line from that narrative had to pay a very heavy price with their careers and with their work. And so I think everyone started following this. And so many such stories, even Ram Janmabhoomi was at a decisive stage. It was not even Babri Masjid then, it was called Masjid-e-Janam Sthan, very clearly indicating whose Janam Sthan it was. Kashi Vishwanath at Kashi, there was a case that went on from 1937 to 1942, Deen Muhammad versus the state, where the Kashi side actually got a very favorable judgment from the British judge in the British courts. So despite it being in your favor, all these contentious matters which could and should have been resolved at independence were kept under the back burner, brushed under the carpet, and historians employed to actually whitewash all of this, saying this is all exaggeration, this is Hindu resurgence, this is communal, and pejoratives like this. And that is how these social unrests have been waiting to erupt ever since over the last few decades, which is very, very unfortunate. If we had made peace with it and given justice to a community rightly deserving of it, I don't think these social unrests would have ever happened in the 70 years after independence.
Yes. Taking that forward, going back to Shantanu, from Ayodhya to Somnath, and the Prime Minister unapologetically wearing his Hindu identity on his sleeve, talking about Sanatan pride, talking about the resilience of the Sanatan Dharma, taking on Sanatan betas. Do you think today, as we see these pictures coming in from Somnath, do you think this is a course correction, one that was supposed to be done long time ago?
No, exactly. Just such a 180-degree juxtaposition, what Dr. Vikram was saying, that how Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru writing letter after letter to not even attend the ceremony, and now see Prime Minister not only attending the ceremony, just look at his screens with 108 horses, with the grandeur that it should be. Whenever, Dr. Vikram, I go to any old fort and any temple and I talk to the priest there, and when they describe how described in the Sthala Purana, if you close your eyes, oh my God, today's prosperity is nothing compared to the prosperity that India had. And when I see these visuals, when I go to the Kashi corridor now, when I go to Ayodhya temple now, and you close your eyes and you imagine that how world would be that time. And Prime Minister is giving us these visuals in our living memories. So you're right. I think Prime Minister putting his weight behind, and also you have to give, I don't want to make it political to Bharatiya Janata Party. A lot of people told them for Ram Mandir ki mandir wahi banayenge, but tarikh nahi batayenge, right? But in 1984, when Vishwa Hindu Parishad started the Ram Mandir movement, it was open for everyone to grab the opportunity, right? But BJP said, okay, we will stand with the topic. Even if we win elections, we lose elections. BJP faced a lot of flag because of that. They won election, they lost election, but till today, now that Ram Temple is built, till the recent manifesto, it was part of their manifesto. That okay, Ram Mandir is a part of our manifesto. And within this 10 years, from Kedarnath to Kashi corridor, to what we have seen in Prayag Kumbh, to what happened to Ayodhya, to down south, when we further come further down to Mahakal, Ujjain, now Somnath. I think this is no less than a cultural renaissance. I think I was holding this book since last evening, Hindu Temples, What Happened to Them by Sitaram Goyalji. And it described how the temple after temple being broken. And a lot of leftist historians will say, no, this is only for money, this is only for territory. But why will they spoil a temple? Why will they break a temple? They can't take the stones back to the place they came. It was done for ideological reason. And very rightly, Dr. Vikram said that the topic was never settled, that this clash of civilization was never settled. In fact, if you hear K.K. Mohammed ji, he's saying, "Main to prashchit kar raha hu, I'm doing prashchit for the people who have broken the temples in the past, and I'm trying to rebuild those temples in whatever capacity I can." In fact, between 1985 to 1990, there were discussions that Muslim community wanted to give back the temple, the Ayodhya temple, to its rightful owners, so to say, the Hindu community. But then the leftist historian said, no, we will give some kacha pakka proof and we will try to simmer the case in the courts of India. And that has become, that differences, this fake proof, this fake leftover in history has become the point of contention between the Hindu and Islamic communities in India. So I think this is so heartening to see, and this also marks the 1,000 years of his first destruction, and we are living to witness these times, and that's I personally feel so fortunate being the part of all these debates on the TV channels and witnessing firsthand many of them. I think one can only feel super blessed.
And Dr. Sampath, there are many voices that come in today. Some who taunt the Prime Minister or taunt, by saying that you become a spiritual leader. These are the kind of reactions coming in from leaders in the Congress party today when Somnath Swabhiman Parv is being marked with this kind of grandeur. When the Prime Minister himself is leading the Shaurya Yatra in Somnath. Today is a memory that many will remember for devotees who've come to Somnath, who are there, lining up on that route there. For them, this is going to become a very important memory. Why do you think this kind of a narrative also comes out from some quarters where they associate anything that the Prime Minister does with regards to India's civilizational history? They call it communal.
I think it's the same mindset which we spoke about right from the Nehruvian times, where every other community could own as well as wear its identity very proudly on its sleeve. It was only the Hindus of India who were called upon to somehow, go low profile, tone down their identity, make accommodations for everyone. I mean, the Sanatan Dharma is one which is assimilatory in nature. It is not a predatory or a proselytizing religion like several other faiths. And so it doesn't really offer any threat even by asserting itself. You almost need to go invisible. And it's the same kind of, people who don't mind saying the government then controls all the Hindu temples. You can't be truly secular and have it both ways. If ours is a secular polity, which I don't think it is, till the time governments have their business in running only Hindu temples, whereas mosques, churches, gurudwaras, all of them are run by their respective communities. When all the money that is collected in the temples or for their upkeep can be used for so-called secular purposes of the state. As long as you do that, what is wrong then out of taking so much out of a temple if the head of state participates and gives back only a small part of that back to the temple? I don't think that should be a problem. And this is not a question only of Hindu faith. I think as Shantanu also mentioned, it is a civilizational renaissance moment. Yes. And as a leader of the country, it is his duty to lead all of us into this memory, tribute as well as celebration. And I think today is a somber moment to also recall, as I mentioned, those 50,000 anonymous warriors who were martyred in the first attack, and thereafter to several brave hearts who contributed to saving Somnath. In 1298, when Alauddin Khilji made the second attack on the Somnath Mandir, you had again a whole army of all the Rajputs in the area, including Rao Kanhad Dev, whom we don't talk much about. He belonged to the dynasty of the Maru Chauhans of Jalore. And balladic folklore talks about how Kanhad Dev actually attacked Alauddin Khilji's army while it was going back from Somnath to Delhi and took the shivling back. This is an apocryphal account. There is not much of attestation that way, but this belief lives in folk memory, in folk stories, that this was the bravery that Kanhad Dev put forward. And as you rightly mentioned, a 16-year-old Rajput chieftain, Veer Hamirji Gohil, who laid his life down while trying to prevent Alauddin Khilji from demolishing the second temple that came up after Muhammad Ghazni's initial destruction. And then you had several other, Rajput chieftains of the Chudasma dynasty in Junagadh, Mahipal and later his son Khangar, who reinstalled the temple. Even during the time of the Gujarat Sultanate, who started off as governors of the Delhi Sultans, Zafar Khan, Ahmad Shah, who founded Ahmedabad after changing Karnavati to this name. You had people like Sultan Mahmud Begada, who again removed the shivling and kind of built a mosque, which never became a mosque really in public life. Almost 200 years after that too, in some manner or the other, the puja was continuing to be held at that site. And that was when Aurangzeb decides, at the end of this long story of iconoclasm in about 1701 to 6 is when the temple is finally demolished and a mosque is put in place. And like all other pilgrim sites, the person whom we all must pay our tributes on this occasion is that great lady of Sanatan Dharma, Devi Ahilyabai Holkar, yes. Thanks to whom not only Kashi Vishwanath, Somnath, numerous such shrines across the length and breadth of country which had been demolished during Islamic attacks were all resurrected without any acrimony, without any kind of attacks or going through skirmishes and conflicts, in a very, very peaceful way, and with her maternal instincts of love and devotion, she managed to convince so many people to give back these sites. And I think the whole nation and all Sanatani Bharatiyas need to pay our respects on this occasion to all these great men and women who have also contributed to keeping this flame of faith alive, despite all the stormy winds that tried to extinguish it. And just one point I'd like to add to what buttressing the point that my good friend Shantanu made about how it is talked about, that this was not theological. The demolitions were not for theological reasons. It was because there was so much wealth in these temples. Now, we just need to go, for instance, to Mahmud Ghazni's own contemporary chroniclers. A person who was his court historian, Al-Utbi, he comes all the way with Mahmud to many of these campaigns, and he notes down an eyewitness account of what he saw there. So it is through his account we get to know that these people were defending the fort of Somnath and the temple for so long, and it took him 3 days to kill all of these 50,000 warriors and enter the temple. And when he's going to the Garbhagriha, all the priests come running to him and say, you are a lutera and all you want is money. So we'll give you as much money. You just take this and save our deity. To which Utbi writes in his Kitab al-Yamini in Arabic that, Mahmud Ghazni laughs and says, if I ever do that, then, I will be remembered in history as a trader of idols. Whereas I want my legacy to be registered in history as a breaker of idols, or Bud Shikan. So this suffix that used to be put very prominently to several people's name. In Kashmir, you had Sikandar Bud Shikan of the Shahmiri dynasty and so on. They used to tell it with a lot of pride that I have broken so many idols, I have demolished so many temples. So when their own contemporary chroniclers and those own sultans, their letters, you have Tipu Sultan's letters talking with a lot of pride about what all he has demolished, how many lakhs of people he has converted, I simply do not understand where is the need for modern Marxist historians to provide cover fire to all of this and say, oh, this is just exaggeration, this did not even happen. Their own people are talking about it, and without feeling apologetic as you are feeling about your religion. Right. So I think this change in mindset is what we are witnessing today. Yes. And while these things may look symbolic, the visuals, to many people who are cynical and skeptic about it, I think in the long run it goes a deep way into arousing that literally sleeping soul of the civilization, which over the last 70-75 years of historical amnesia, we have been consciously told to forget all this in the interest of some imagined social harmony of today. Yeah. I think this is not against anybody. This is not against any community, but it is a celebration of the resolve, of the sacrifices and greatness of numerous of those heroes and heroines whom I mentioned. Yeah,
and some of whose names have never been taken, some who still remain unsung. And today is a celebration of their valor, of their sacrifice. And why should it upset anybody else? Why should the Somnath Swabhiman Parv be called a communal event as being touted by many in the ecosystem? Shantanu, taking from what Dr. Vikram said that this memory today is akin to the awakening of the sleeping soul of a civilization. And we've been seeing these conversations. There's a reset of sort in the narrative too. And yet there are cynics, yet there are critics who will say, no, this sends out a wrong message internationally. Let's follow the template that was followed by Pandit Nehru.
I think it's such a pleasure to hear Dr. Vikram, and in such occasions when you don't debate, you don't have those five shouting people, and you can hear a scholar as scholarly Dr. Vikram and those details, and these moments give an opportunity. From last evening when I'm scrolling my daily dose of reels, every third reel is about Somnath or some temple movement, and now among youth also you find something called bhajan clubbing, right? So the renaissance, not only the temple is coming up, the way people are dressing up, the dhoti, kurta pajama is not only a costume now. In a normal event you find people wearing Indian dresses, Indian styles, Indian food. So I think that's a real part of Indianization or the cultural renaissance, as we discussed. But you're right, there'll be cynics, kuch to log kahenge. But again, the same people will become very American. They celebrate the Christmas and Easters when they travel to Oxfords and Harvards of the world. See, I think India must be the only country which has forgotten his history in the way India has. Can you imagine in Europe, any street in a Poland or a Germany or anywhere can be called Hitler Street? But in India, in the heart of Delhi, there was Aurangzeb Road, and Narendra Modi has to come to change the road. Where not very far from Aurangzeb Road was Shishganj Gurdwara, where from the same Aurangzeb, the head of the Sikh Gurus were cut and hung there, right? And it's almost like I come to Times Now studio and I break the home studio, and next day onward you start calling it Shantanu Now. You'll not do that, right? You'll put me to police. And similarly, you'll not valorize me, you'll not celebrate me. That's what India has done, and this is like so bizarre to anyone who will realize and read India's history that Aurangzeb did what they did to India, and you're calling your road Aurangzeb Road. Still Babar Akbar Road is still there. We'll find some positivity in Akbar also. Akbar Road is still existing. And this is a plea to all the lawmakers. We have seen amazing times in last 10 years. But I think now we have become greedy. From Bakhtiyarpur to Akbar Road, I think all should be Indianized. And it's not that names were not changed. I'm sure in Delhi, Rajpath and Janpath, these were King's Roads and Queen's Road. If I think 6, 7, 10% of Anglo-Indians would have remained in India, Nehru would not have changed the name, because for them it became a vote bank. So I fail to understand who are this Muslim people who find their hero in a Babar or a Aurangzeb, and they have to fight a case to defend that Babri Masjid, right? So cynics will be cynics. But I think good that you are doing a long broadcast and people are getting educated. Reels are being made in such topics. Now, like education, technology, edtech, there is a parallel thing called faith tech. People are teaching Gita, Ramayan, and a lot of Vedic text online. So these are changing times, and I think cynics will also realize soon that these cynics will be part of the India growth story. India has become the 4th largest economy just last week. So they want to be part of the India growth story, or they still want to be cynic on the sides?
Yes. Dr. Sampath, I also want you to stay along, and I concur with what Shantanu has said, that today when we listen to you, there is so much that we also learn that was kept suppressed when we talk about the history of Somnath, the story of resolve and resilience. But allow me a moment, let me describe the pictures that are coming in from the Somnath Temple. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, after the conclusion of the Shaurya Yatra, in moments from now will offer his prayers at the Somnath Temple, and then there will be a public address. The pictures you're seeing right now is from the complex of the Somnath Mandir. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is paying his tribute. Let's also take you through what has happened in the last 24 hours, viewers. Thousands of devotees are in Somnath. The temple town has been completely transformed. Last night you saw how drones lit up the sky, fireworks followed, prayers and chants of Har Har Mahadev echoed against the Arabian Sea. All this happened just hours after Prime Minister Narendra Modi stepped into the Somnath Temple complex as a part of Somnath Swabhiman Parv. Now, Somnath is not just an ancient stone, it is an ancient memory. A temple that was attacked, desecrated and broken multiple times across centuries, and yet it was rebuilt again and again. Somnath stands today not just as a place of worship, but as a symbol of survival. And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi bows his head here, it is not just a public statement, viewers. It is a statement about what India chooses to remember, a statement about what India refuses to forget, and a statement about how the past is being reread in the present. And this is about how a civilization is choosing to tell its story. We're getting you pictures both from last night and from today. The Shaurya Yatra to the prayers at the Somnath Temple, and now the Prime Minister bowing his head in tribute. Dr. Sampath and Shantanu Gupta, thank you for staying along with us and enriching us with this very with this conversation that today is so relevant. Dr. Sampath, I'm coming back to you, and I want you to share with us one story about Somnath, one story that was kept hidden about valor, about how multiple times, despite being attacked, how today Somnath stands tall, about the story of all those unsung heroes today who are being acknowledged, whose sacrifice is being acknowledged today.
Yeah, as I mentioned, right from those 50,000 anonymous soldiers who defended the temple to people like Bhimdev, the Chalukya Solanki king, who barely 5 years after Muhammad Ghazni's demolition of the temple actually got the temple rebuilt. And while he was on his way back to Ghazni after demolishing Somnath, you had the local rulers in the vicinity, including the famous Paramara ruler Bhojraj, actually mounting a very fatal attack on the retreating army. And at that time, a very interesting incident happens. A common Hindu appears posing as a travel guide, telling him that Muhammad's army was lost in the desert regions of northern Gujarat and Rajasthan, and they were also very thirsty. And so that is when this man appears and he says, I'm a travel guide. I'll take you to a stream where you can quench your thirst. And he actually misleads them and takes them into the deepest recesses of the desert. And at that time, Mahmud and his people suspect some foul play. And so they catch hold of this guy and make him confess. And he says that I'm not a travel guide. There is no stream or river anywhere here. I actually wanted to mislead you, take you into the desert and kill you later of thirst. You and your entire army dies of thirst because of what you have done to our Somnath. So this consciousness being so rife in everybody, I think that is something that is hardly acknowledged today.
Yes.
And on this occasion, I just want to state a small part of what K.M. Munshiji wrote to Jawaharlal Nehru when the latter opposed it. And Munshi writes, and I quote him, "It is my faith in our past which has given me the strength to work in our present and to look forward to our future. I cannot value freedom if it deprives us of the Bhagavad Gita or uproots our millions from the faith with which they look upon our temples and thereby destroys the texture of our lives. This shrine, Somnath, once restored to a place of importance in our life, will give to our people purer conception of religion and a more vivid consciousness of our strength, which is so vital in these days of freedom and its trials." Unquote. I think this.
Can I just interject you for a moment?